So, hi, I'm Misty Funk with drmistyfunk.com, and Michael's asked me to tell my story. From the time I was really young, I always saw myself traveling, and I'll start with a vision that I had when I was really little. I saw myself with a globe, and every time I would travel somewhere in the world, I'd poke a hole in the globe, and there was a light from inside, and the light would shine out. And I imagined that I had an opportunity to experience places all over the world. And I remember as a young child, I saw myself projected onto my deathbed, and I was holding that globe. And I remember looking at it, and the whole globe was lit up, that I had traveled the entire world. So that was my dream from a young child, that I would have an opportunity to be a world traveler and I would get to see all these things. And I had lots of visions as a young person. And then, as with most of us, life happens. And I did what I thought was the most responsible thing to do. I went to college, did well in school, had a goal to become a doctor, became a chiropractor, had the awesome opportunity of starting a practice at a young age, and I was very successful and really, really grateful about that. But the one thing that happened in the midst of being an incredibly responsible human being was that I didn't travel. I saved all of my money. I hoarded my money and did lots of interesting things, but the very things that I really wanted when I was younger, to travel and to experience life and to see new cultures, was something that was really relegated to looking at a book or watching a movie. So I just get nervous talking about all of this. So about 2 years ago, I started feeling a really strong urge to take some time off, to take a sabbatical. And at the time, it seemed like a impossible dream. I was feeling really led to take 2 years off. And if anybody has been a doctor, been a business owner or anything, I mean, maybe you're an executive or maybe you are still in school, the thought of taking 2 years off to do something crazy, like to start a new business or to travel, just seems absolutely insane. But with most things in life, when we're supposed to be doing something, it just keeps knocking on our door. That inner voice keeps calling us. And so it wasn't long before I felt pretty convinced that what I was supposed to do was take 2 years off. And I did. I took my little wad of money that I'd saved up and I holed up in a small town and I started blogging with drmistyfunk.com. And it wasn't long before a friend knocked on my door. He gave me a phone call actually and said, "I want you to travel with me." And I said, "Of course not. I can't travel. I don't have the money." And I was really fortunate that he actually said, "I'll pay for your flights." And that was the thing that got me in the door. And this is with Christian Douglas, who is a friend of Michael and myself. And I flew up to Anchorage, Alaska, and hopped in his RV. And we started traveling down the Alaska Highway into Canada. And I started getting a taste of travel and adventure. And we started meeting the most amazing people. It was, honestly, it was eye-opening. And all along the trip, Christian kept telling me over and over again that, "Misty, you have to travel. You have 2 years off. You have all of this money saved, and you deserve to meet a certain quality of person. You deserve to have a taste for life and not just hole up in a small town." And I'll be honest with you, I felt so much resistance. I remember arguing with him pretty harshly. And I remember at some point in time, I kept thinking to myself, why am I arguing with him about traveling? Traveling's the one thing that I want to do. And luckily, I just, stepped back and started looking at that. And he kept saying, "You need to meet this Michael Skye guy." So finally, when I got back home, I looked up Michael. And he had done a video on the hero's journey. And I must confess that the whole reason I went on sabbatical was because I read a book called Reflections in the Art of Living. It's a compilation of Joseph Campbell's work, who coined the whole term, the hero's journey. And so that video really touched me because it was really a touchstone for me starting my own adventure. And so I sent Michael a message, I think it was via Twitter or email, about how much that video touched me. And it wasn't long before he sent me a message and said, come and join me in Thailand. So I started chatting with Michael about this world travel thing. And he shared with me that he teaches a course called the Carpe Diem World Traveler course. And I purchased that course and started watching the videos. And of course, then all of the things in there started encouraging my heart even more to take the next step. So the next thing I know, I am really wrestling with, do I go? Do I stay and be responsible? Do I travel to Thailand to meet this crazy Michael Skye guy? And I was really wrestling with this. And I actually remember laying down to take a nap. And when I woke up from the nap, I really felt like a revelation had hit me. I kind of felt like this inner voice had said to me, like, I've introduced you to someone who's been traveling the world for the last 7 or 8 years, and Chiang Mai, Thailand is a place where digital nomads congregate, and this is the exact thing that you want to do with your life. Like, I've handed you everything you've asked for on a silver platter, and you're saying no to the opportunity. And I knew right then that I had to say yes. So I went online and I looked up flights from Houston to Chiang Mai, and it was ridiculously cheap. And so I booked my flight, and then I started thinking, what the hell have I done? And I remember shaking. And so before I knew it, I gallivanted myself off to Thailand, and I was so scared. And I remember all of the things I learned in the course, I honestly didn't believe was true. I didn't believe that you could travel for very little money. I didn't believe that you would be greeted like family, that you would make, new friends. I mean, all the fears that I had about traveling were in many ways unfounded. And what I found was that people were incredibly friendly. I met the most amazing people. And I'm going to totally try not to cheesy grin, but I actually even met someone, hopefully a life partner, someone I've been dating for the past 6 months since I went to Thailand. And that was completely unexpected. And on top of that, as soon as I got back to the US and this person came to join me in the US, we literally were invited to come and stay at the home of someone we had met literally at a coffee shop. And I had that moment when Sean and I was staying in this man's house in Austin, Texas, that we literally were experiencing the very things that Michael had taught about in the class, that you meet people randomly, and the next thing you know, you're traveling with them and staying with them. And so you really have no idea when you travel, the people that you meet and where you're going to see them again in the world. It's quite amazing. So I would love to share some of the benefits of traveling, the kinds of things that I couldn't have imagined. The biggest thing is that I think some people naturally go with the flow and they are able to just deal with whatever happens in life. And I've always been a planner, and I try to get everything right in life. The one thing about traveling is that things never go according to plan. And I would say that the biggest benefit of traveling has been that it's caused me to just relax. And it's caused me to just lean into the adventure of life and to realize that if you try to create the perfect plan, that things will surely fail and you'll actually miss the beauty of things not going according to plan. Having a more relaxed journey is way more fun than needing to have everything figured out before you travel. So I'd say one of the biggest things that surprised me about going to Thailand was that my sense of adventure and aliveness really woke me up a bit. And it really opened me to meeting someone. And I have to admit that the truth was that I always thought that I was going to meet someone in my city, in my local area. And it never occurred to me that I would travel to a foreign country and meet a man from another country, and that we would partner together and have a life and to create a world that's even bigger and better than I've experienced. And, it's funny because I look back And I noticed I was continuously dating the same old guy again and again who had a job in Austin, Texas, and didn't have time off, wasn't open and available to travel. And it never occurred to me that going to Thailand and meeting Michael would actually have me meeting the kind of guy who had carved out a life just like I had, where he could work online, where he could travel when he wanted to, and that was open to a life that involved working and traveling like as a team, as opposed to we only travel when we're on vacation. So that's been something that I think has been wonderful. If you really desire traveling and you want to meet someone who travels, meeting Michael and taking this course is an awesome opportunity to make friends with, to potentially partner up with someone who has the same desires as you do. So, if you're feeling the call to adventure and you're thinking about traveling, you're thinking about taking a Carpe Diem World Traveler course, I encourage you to follow your heart, because I did. And even though I was scared out of my mind and my mind was telling me constantly that I was being irresponsible, I really felt the tug of my heart to take the adventure. And I encourage you to start paying attention to the signs. I remember I go to work every day in my local library just to get out of the house. And I walked into the library that day, probably a day or two before I booked the trip to Chiang Mai. And I was working, and on the way out of the library, I saw a DVD that was in the for sale box that said Chiang Mai, Thailand on it, and had these Thai women, and it had a temple in the background. And I remember thinking to myself, that is some crazy meep. And I took a photo of it. And that really anchored me. I was like, the universe is telling me to travel. It is telling me to go to Chiang Mai. I'd never heard of the city before. And little did I know that there were signs and clues all around encouraging me to follow my heart. So I encourage you to do the same thing. Start paying attention and start looking at all the ways that the universe is supporting you to fulfill your dreams.